Hey there, book lovers, and welcome back to my channel. I'm, I'm, um. Hey there, book lovers, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sierra, also known as C's Library, and this is the 5th part in my book journaling for 2025 series. Today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite pages in my journal, which is my reading goals. Reading goals are all subjective and malleable to what you want to be able to achieve this year. This page is basically a manifestation of those goals, so you won't be going back to check things off or note anything down or change any of your goals. This is basically the set in stone what you will be doing. The first step we're going to do is just design the page. You can design it with whatever elements feel the most you, but I just took out the washi tapes and journal sets that I want to use for this one, which are the same pinkish neutrals theme. I started with this little graph paper that I ripped out from an old notebook. I wanted to use this for my title. Then I found this cute dark pinkish ticket and pink butterfly to add some color to it. I used this washi tape from Notebook Therapy to create a little line element at the bottom of my page. I flipped around a lot to try to find something to put next to the washi tape because it looked a little bit awkward to me not going all the way across the line. I finally found this vintage sticker, so I stuck everything else down and I added that to it. I wrote my title for the page and outlined it, and then all of my designing elements were complete. And now that the design element is all done, we're going to be talking about my reading goals and how you can adjust them to what you want to be doing. There's no right or wrong goals, but I always start with my numerical value of how many books I want to read this year. My reading goal for 2024 was 60 books, and I'm currently on my 122nd book of the year. I honestly didn't think I would get this many books done, but I've since upped my reading goal to 135 books because I felt like that was more reasonable. I recognize that as it's a goal, it is adjustable to if I need to up it more, and I also recognize that sometimes I might not accomplish all of those goals, but I feel like 35 was a good limit for me this year. So for 2024, I decided on reading 140 books. If you don't read as much or you read slower, a goal of 10 books is still great if that's a good goal for you. What makes a goal good for me is if it's both achievable but also challenging. So for me, for 2024, 60 books was challenging because I hadn't been reading very much at the time. And then I started in the Bookstagram community and stuff, and I grew out past that goal, and so I had to adjust it. Then on my next goal, I wanted to focus on connecting with other people through my books. I love reading, and I love reading with other people, so my next goal is to read 4 buddy reads through the year. 4 buddy reads through the year is only once every 3 months, and buddy reads for me can be hard because I get a little impatient and I want to keep reading, but I want to also wait for my buddy. But I really like buddy reads because I get to experience it with another person and we get to talk about it as it comes along. My next goal I have is to read 1 nonfiction per month. One thing that really helps me with setting goals is being specific and having a timeline for it. Because if I said that I was going to read 12 nonfiction books this year, I'm very likely to set it off to the side, picking up those shiny new fantasy books I have, and then at the end of the year I try to cram it all in the last few months, and then it's not even enjoyable for me anymore. By splitting it up and reading 1 nonfiction book a month, it just helps me to sit down and sit with that and not stress myself out at the end of the year, but also just making sure I'm reliably, consistently reading those things. Nonfiction to me is really important because I feel like it really opens the mind to things going on right now in reality and in the world, in self-help, in your health, I like nonfiction. I do tend to pass it up for fantasy lately, and so I want to make sure I'm still taking the time to do better and learn more, and I love learning, so I'm excited to have that as a goal next year. My next goal falls in a similar line to the nonfiction. I want to make sure I annotate at least 1 book per month. There's nothing wrong with people who read just for the vibes and then, you see all those memes online about you forgot what the book is about the next day. I don't like doing that. I do it sometimes, but I'm someone who really wants to sit and take in the book. When I write my reviews, I get very specific with what I liked or what I didn't like. I think that's also because I was an English major and because I'm a writer, but I want to get in depth with what makes the book good, whether it's the writing style, the characters, the plot, and I want to analyze those features about it. And annotating to me gets me really in depth with that because I get to do it on a scene-by-scene basis, like what worked, what didn't work, what I liked about it. Annotating to me really helps me focus and not rush through the book. I just take every step of it in. So I really like annotating. It can be a lot at times, so I don't want to do it super often, but I do want to take that time to slow down with a book at least once a month. So that's where that goal comes from. I've always been a big fan of poetry, and just since starting Bookstagram, I know I've gravitated a lot towards fiction because that's what most people talk about on there. But I do want to focus on reading some more poetry this year and taking the time with poetry because I think it's such a beautiful art form. So that goal is to read at least 1 poetry book per month. My next goal is more about the physical space of my reading, and that is to offload 10 books next year. I have a small space to hold books. This is my one and only bookshelf. I do keep books that I don't really care to show off or I didn't like as much in my closet all stacked up, but this is it. This is what I have to show off my books. And so because of that, I keep it very specific with what I do like, or books that I haven't read yet. So for me, this goal is about keeping my space tidy, keeping it clean, keeping it with the things that I like specifically. I'm not someone who likes to collect things. I'm not someone who wants to hoard my books. If I don't like a book, I want to get rid of it. I don't want it in my space. If I read a book on Kindle Unlimited and I like it, I'm not very likely to go out and buy it unless it was super outstanding to me. So books for me are to enjoy. It's not something to collect. But of course, some books I really like. I want to get a special edition copy of it as well. So I understand that want for that. But for me, it's just not that big of a deal if I own a book or not, as long as I get to read it. So this goal comes from I want to donate these books or bring it to a little free library if I'm just not enjoying it very much. I want to be able to go provide that for someone else who might want to read it. So I'm going to offload at least 10 books this year. So this next goal goes back to that social aspect of reading. I want to attend at least 3 reading events. In October, I went to the Las Vegas Book Festival, and I thought it was super fun. I loved every aspect of it. I loved seeing other people talk about books. I love the panels. And I know that there's a lot of reading events that go on in my city. And I just feel a little nervous being out there without people to talk to about books. I mean, obviously there's a lot of readers, but I don't know a lot of people that talk about books like this. So I'm trying to push myself out there to go to these events and be around other people that enjoy that. So I do hope I get to more events next year, and that is definitely one of the goals I'll be working towards. And my final goal, which is I think a basic one, but also the most essential goal you could have, which is to enjoy what I read. You know, when you're younger and you hear the phrase like the only rule is to have fun, and then you're basically thinking like, oh, that's cool. It's basically like there's no rules. That's not what this is. This is a hard set rule for me. I have a really hard time DNFing a book I don't like. If I really dislike a book, I'm still going to continue reading it, because some part of me is thinking like, well, I already started it, or that'd be a waste of time that I already read like this many pages or whatnot. And I just don't like that mentality. I mean, I don't know that most people do like that mentality, but it is hard for me to set that down. And so my goal for this year is, if I'm not enjoying a book, I just don't keep reading, which sounds easy enough, but it's not. So I'm gonna be pretty strict with this rule, and I hope I just enjoy everything I read. I don't want to push myself to read something I'm not enjoying to get to a number count of books, or to not waste the time I've already read it. I want to enjoy everything I read. It's not worth it. We only get to read so many books in our lives, so I'm going to be dedicating that space to books I do like, and just move on from the ones I'm not liking. And that's it for my reading goals. I really liked how this page turned out, and I love being able to look back at this page throughout the year to see what I set myself out to do, and just think about how well I've been doing so far on that. Of course, you could have less or more goals. You can have goals about the genre you want to read, about the books you want to read. You can have goals about the authors you want to read, about the books you want to buy. You can have goals about your bookshelf. Any goals you want to be achieving next year. Tailor it to what you can both achieve and that would be a challenge to you. A little note about goals is that they are just that, goals. And even taking that step towards achieving that, even making progress in that, is already enough. It is a goal, and you're the only one setting it. So don't be hard on yourself if you don't achieve that. Just because we set this within the year time frame doesn't mean it has to end there. You know what I mean? If you read 140 books at the end of next year, the following year, that's still great. As long as you are working towards that goal, you are already doing enough. You are already putting in the work to what you want to set out to do. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe. Leave a comment on what you thought. And as always, you can send me anything that you've created at my Instagram at cs.library. Next week, we'll be working on our challenges pages. Things like our book bingo and the alphabet challenge and any other challenge you might want to create. This is just about what they are, how to use them, what they're good for, and whatnot. Until next time, happy reading. I wanted to up that up. Ooh, up that up. Up. Don't include that. Annotating just helps me really get focused on and take it all in and not try to rush through a book. Why am I moving my hand so much? For me, if I read a book on Kindle Unlimited, unless it's super outstanding to me, outstanding? What? Of course, you could have less goals or more goals. You can have goals about genres you want to read, goals about... As you can see here, this is my one and only bookshelf. I did not like that expression I just made. I need to drink water.